Hey,
Hello.
I need to adjust my orientation here. Hold on a sec. Whoa, let's see if this works. Just me and my plants.
It's just me in an empty background.
Nice, I like that.
I wanted to see if I could get a banner behind me, but
Oh,
it's,
that would be cool.
yeah, I know Phil Dalton has one at his gym, a Cornell barbell flag.
When did they even start making those? I never.
He might have just made it for himself on custom ink. I don't know.
That's awesome. You guys should definitely sell them.
Yeah, I,
I
I
would,
would buy one.
yeah, two customers right here. All right, is this
Yeah,
okay?
I think we're good.
Okay,
Should be.
awesome.
So
My
I guess
setup is a little
first
bit
thing.
shaky. All right, we're good.
So I guess the first thing to ask you is the most important question. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm really good. Lots of life changes in the last 3 months, 6 months. So,
What's what's been going on with that?
um, lots of transitions, right? So I was working in the clinic up until about 3 weeks ago, and I was part-time working in a pediatric sports medicine clinic here in Coral Springs. Awesome place, all one-on-one with their patients. Um, And I had the opportunity to go full time at my position at Hybrid. And I decided to take it because that's an opportunity that probably would not come up again. I can always go back to treating, I can always go back to the clinic. Um, but I knew that this director of education position was probably, this was my chance. So that transition in the last 3 weeks to not being in the clinic has been eye-opening, but also super rewarding. I'm really glad that I kind of took that leap, but lots of lessons are about to be learned, I'm sure.
So what exactly is your position of hybrid?
So now the official title is Director of Education. Um, Before, when I was part-time, they took me on to help them with just general educational content. For example, Stefi's educational IGTVs that she does, they're like 2 minutes long, some are 4 minutes long. She needed help writing those and coming up with topics and coming up with, things that are going to get views, but also reflect, what hybrid stands for overall, which is like this non BS approach to training and nutrition. Um, so they needed help with that because it was Steffi doing that and it was their COO Ian doing that. Super smart people, obviously, super educated, and uh, they speak really well and they write really well, and they know what their audience wants. But it was taking so much time out of their schedules. Ian was trying to build the app with the development team and also writing these scripts on the side and writing blogs on the side. And Steph is doing all the different things that Steph does and taking time to write these blogs and write these scripts. So they just needed someone to kind of facilitate that process for them, and they took me on, and I'm really grateful that they did because it has been awesome, to work with a company that you have been following for years and just like beaming at everything they do and really looking up to them and admiring how they run things and how they represent themselves to their audience, and then to finally be on the inside of that. Oh my gosh, it has been a feeling like no other.
Well, because I guess when did she start powerlifting? 2014, I think.
Um, I think it was you. We would have to ask her. Maybe we can interview her one day.
I would love to
She
talk with
really
her one
didn't
day.
get, yeah, we can try and set that up. She's a busy lady, but maybe she'll do us a favor. I'm pretty sure she waited until she was in PT school to get like super serious about it, or to get competitive with it. But she was the year ahead of me at University of Miami, and our paths crossed like once or twice while we were in school. But it wasn't until we had both graduated that we made the connection, and I was taken onto the team.
So what was that like watching female powerlifting go from you had what Becca Swanson in the 2000s and that was about it to now you got, Danny Mello, I know she trains there,
Yeah.
Amanda Lawrence, Stefi Cohen. What was it like watching that transition? Because I mean, I know you did powerlifting at Cornell as well, but you were sort of right on the cusp of when it sort of exploded in the past 5 or 6 years. What was it like watching that part of the sport grow?
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing to see, obviously. I grew up lifting weights. I was lucky enough that my parents had like a little community fitness center in our backyard, and it was founded with the intention of being like a women's only gym, or a gym that really emphasized women's strength training in particular. And my parents, I mean, looking back, I'm like, wow, you guys were super forward thinking. My dad had lifted weights all his life, and here he is. He wants to open a gym dedicated to helping women get stronger. So my mom was lifting weights out there. My dad was lifting weights out there. People from the community came in, and they eventually opened it up to males as well so that anybody could lift in there. But so I was raised in that environment where it's like if you're a strong woman, you're praised. That's a great thing. That is, the optimal state to be in: strong, independent, capable, driven, disciplined, all this good stuff. So I kind of grew up with those values, and I'm really thankful that I did. I kind of hit the jackpot there in some ways. So then when I got to college, that was when I really started, um, to like seriously lift. I would just like lift for fun, do some bodybuilding stuff, like make sure my form was really good. Taught myself how to do the Olympic lifts just because I saw, women CrossFitters doing it, the Nasty Girls original video. Um, and I was like, I want to learn how to do that. But then I got serious when I got to Cornell, and it really wasn't popular when I was, a freshman. And that was 2012. Um, it was really very rare to see any females lifting really heavy in the gym. There would be a couple for sure that I looked up to, but I never got their names because I was too scared to go up to them and talk to them. Uh, but there were a couple that were lifting pretty heavy weights, but I felt a little bit isolated when I went to do some powerlifting workouts. I can't really remember what was the stimulus to make me sign up for my first competition. Um, but yeah, it definitely grew throughout the 4 years that I was there. The Barbell Club grew, and more women were joining the Barbell Club. So I finally had friends like Tia who were lifting with me, and that support system like mattered a lot. But I was just kind of going along doing my own thing. I really didn't pay attention to the big names in powerlifting. Um, and then when I competed, I was like, wow, these girls are much stronger than me. Because I was sheltering myself from everything else that was going on in the powerlifting world. So definitely now that I have seen how the sport has grown and how strong these women have gotten and the numbers that they're hitting, I'm just like blown away. It's awesome to see.
Yeah, I mean, my frame of reference is strongman, and
Hmm.
I don't know if you know who Melissa Peacock is. She set the axle under 82 kilo axle record at 275 pounds a couple weeks ago.
Wow.
She did a behind the neck press at 300 yesterday,
Oh
and
my God.
I think she's 175. She's middleweight.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
there was another woman who pulled 300 kilograms at UK's Strongest Man. They did an exhibition for her.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy what's been happening the past couple of years in terms of these again that my frame of reference is strongman, but people like Donna
Hmm.
Moore, Andrea Thompson, just pushing the limits. I mean, Donna Moore's stone record, that's like I think it's 160 kilos, 165 kilos, something like that. That's second or third stone at World's Strongest Man that they're loading when they do those stone series.
So what do you think is what has caused that? You know, is it a combination of things? Is it just that the sports are getting more popular and getting more, you know, time on social media, more exposure?
I honestly, I think it is. I forget who did this interview. Maybe it was, might have been Ronnie Coleman who was talking about how many Mr. Olympias do you think are just walking around and don't know it?
Yeah,
You know, just some random person who has the genetics to be at that level. Or
right.
you know, take someone like Hafthor Bjornsson. He was not a big person. I mean, he was tall, but he was, I think, 270 maybe at 6'9", maybe
Hmm.
250 or so. But someone like him, you know, they found him. They figured out he could be really strong. Well, I guess I don't know if you know her. Nadia Stowers is a strong woman. She's out in
Not as so.
California.
Okay. No, I don't think so.
Um, she is also middleweight, but she never did sports in high school, never did anything. Just signed up to go to the gym one day, and her current coach was like, "Wow, you're really strong. What sport did you do?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'm just working out. It's just I'm just
Amazing.
yeah." And she's doing axle presses at around 270. She pulled 585 last week on deadlift,
Oh my
and
gosh.
just average normal person walked in the gym, wanted to you know get fit or whatever her goals were, and now she's one of
Yeah.
the strongest women on the planet in 2 or 3 years.
Just stumbled into it.
Yeah,
That's
so
awesome.
the current Scotland strongest man, he's been training for about 2 years now. I think he started in 2019. He's been training strongman as long as Larry Wheels.
My
And
goodness gracious.
yeah, 6'7", 200 or 205 kilos. That's what 450.
Yeah.
And he
Wow.
just he had a kid and wanted to get in shape, and now he's Scotland's strongest man.
These freaks, man. It's
Yeah,
beautiful. It's beautiful to watch, you know, pushing the limits of what it means to be human, you know, and the limits of sport. What are your individual goals for strongman? Because I know you are lifting your bed over your head on a regular basis.
that was that was a trick of my roommate not showing up. So I don't think I don't know if I can do that again. It's
Oh, that's
very popular
funny.
in the low rises. You know, if I could make it to OSG at some point, I don't think I'd ever be an opens competitor. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just I'm not that big, and I don't really plan on taking anything to get that big.
Mm-hmm.
If I can, I realistically my end goal would probably be middleweight
Okay.
strongman. I'm around 205 now. I could do 90 kilos, but I know I'm gonna get bigger, especially if I'm going through a volume block right now,
Okay. Good.
intentionally.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's if I could get there, but I really just want to do the best I can do. And there's a chance I won't be the best in the world, but it's at the end of the day, I do it because I like doing it. No one's forcing me. I definitely wasn't recruited to Cornell to play strongman.
Oh, can you imagine Cornell's
Yeah.
strongman team? Oh, wow.
I think Ohio State has a power lift. Like you can get recruited. Ohio, Mississippi. There's a couple schools that now it's an official team. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't. We're in a weird spot with the Barbell Club where we can represent Cornell at meets, but we're still a club sort of.
Right.
It's a weird thing. Adam Davis explained that to me. But
Adam Davis, man.
the trickery
The father of Cornell Barbell.
yeah, I actually haven't met him in person yet, but
What? Oh, because of
yeah, because COVID,
COVID.
he couldn't come to the gym.
Oh, wow.
He
Wait,
was
so was that like regulation based? Like,
yeah, I think it was only students.
wow.
Oh, and I'm not sure if I mentioned this to you before, but it was 50-minute sessions.
50-minute
So
session. So you had to like sign up.
yeah, sign up
Wow.
on an app. You can only be there 50 minutes. Not good for fat powerlifters like me, but
No,
no,
not for those long rest breaks.
no, the gym I go to now, it's a powerlifting gym in where I live, and I'm there for like 3 hours. It's
Right. So you're off for the summer then. That's not in
yeah,
Ithaca.
yeah, that's not Ithaca.
Okay.
I'm
There's
near New York.
okay, gotcha. Because I always you know, I went to Teagle Down all the time.
Yeah.
But I always looked around in like the Ithaca community, and there was, CrossFit Palace, there was CrossFit of Ithaca. They moved to the Commons, I think, while I was in school still. But those were like the two gyms that were most conducive to like a powerlifting type of program. But I mean, they had their classes, so it wasn't like open gym only. But I was like, dude, can you imagine if I move back? Because I'm from 30 minutes south of Ithaca. And my husband and I joke about this all the time. They're like, let's just move back and start our powerlifting gym called Upstate Iron. And everyone in Ithaca will finally have a place to lift heavy. But I don't really know if people in Ithaca want to lift heavy, if that many people in Ithaca want to do powerlifting or strongman.
You could do Soulmates Incorporated.
There you go. Soulmates Incorporated or Hybrid Performance Method Gym 2.0.
Yeah. Well, actually, I
Miami
mean,
and Ithaca.
well, you've got there's a couple places. I think Syracuse has a couple. Buffalo has some.
That makes sense.
It's Ithaca doesn't have it, and I guess Tompkins County doesn't really have a ton. But there's a place in Ithaca. It's a really clever name. It's called the Gym,
Yes,
and
I've been
so,
there.
yeah. So I guess people train there too. There's a guy 2 years older than me. He competes at collegiate nationals. I think he trains there. He
Okay.
actually trains at the same gym as me. We go to Iron Vault. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Iron Vault. No.
Near Mount Vernon Barbell,
Okay.
if that
Gotcha.
helps.
Yeah,
Similar,
kind of.
somewhat. Um,
That's downstate, right? That you're
yeah,
like closer to the
that
city.
region. Yeah,
Gotcha.
but Kevin Oak has trained there before, people
Yeah.
like that. So
Okay, that's why that sounds familiar.
Taylor Atwood trains there.
Okay.
Actually, I saw him my first day there. I was signing in. I looked to my left, like that's Taylor Atwood.
Did you get starstruck?
A little bit. I
I get
was.
starstruck so easily in the gym, honestly.
Yeah. It's interesting because at the risk of sounding, arrogant, when I'm at the gym at Cornell, not as many people are lifting as heavy as me, and
Yeah,
I'm not that strong, but it's just not as many people are into powerlifting.
right.
And then when I'm at Iron Vault, I just walk in there. I know I'm not the strongest person in the room. It's exciting, really.
Yeah, yeah.
People are benching my deadlift. It's cool.
That's how you up your game, right? You surround
Yeah,
yourself with people who make you want to be better.
yeah. I mean, people like Christian who trains at the gym. I think his best pull is 300 kilograms,
Oh my God.
at 83 kilos.
Oh my God.
So, and he just benched 400 last week, 2 weeks ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Good for him.
So yeah,
Is he the one that goes to collegiate nationals?
yeah, that's him.
Oh, okay.
Collegiate nationals guy. He came. I forget what. He might have come fourth or fifth. I forget which one it is. But yeah, I'm not going to touch those school records. I think the squat is 550 set by him. The bench
Wow.
is 365. He'll break that in competition.
Right.
Also set by him. And then he shares the deadlift with a kid named Alex Sandoval. I don't know if you've heard of him. He
What year was he?
21. He just graduated, but his
Oh, okay.
freshman year he pulled 290 beltless,
Casual.
conventional too.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
That's awesome,
2017, I think
dude.
is what that was at the Ivy League championships.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. I'm not
What did
there.
Not yet, not yet.
No, but yeah. But if I could, I was telling Taylor about this the other day. If I could get my girlfriend to pull over 340, we could give her a Cornell record,
Is she doing conventional or sumo?
the real deadlift conventional.
The real one. Dang, really? Okay, so do you ever train? Do you train both or just one?
I just train one. If I want to do variety, I do trap bar.
Okay.
But yeah, all kidding aside, I know my form on sumo is terrible because I'm very upper back dominant.
Okay.
So I, it's taken me a long time to work on my conventional and start using my legs on that. And I know
Yeah.
sumo is much more technical and quad based, and I need to get better at conventional first.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I'd imagine that it transfers over better to strongman type activities.
Yeah, like we're doing a car deadlift,
Yeah,
uh, so hence the trap bar stuff.
right. Gotcha. Makes sense. Dude, I had to switch. I was doing conventional like from the start. Conventional was my jam. The first time, before I had even thought about like signing up for a competition or anything, I think there was a bunch of us in the gym. Um, and we were all just deadlifting heavy, and then they just kept adding plates, and I was like, okay, I'll try. Okay, I'll try. And I think the first time I maxed out my conventional, I got like 285. And yeah, and then it like stayed there. My best is like 320 over the course of 5 years. It's like where's the progress? I don't know. Um, but so that was conventional, and I was like, wow, this just feels so good. It feels like my body was built for this type of movement, you know? But then, uh, dude, my lower back, once I got to PT school, my lower back was lit up all the time from just sitting there. It's so, you know, counterintuitive that you're in a physical therapy program and you're sitting here talking about back pain research articles, and meanwhile, your back is just aching because you're sitting down 8 hours a day and you're reading an article that says, well, sitting is probably the worst thing that you could do for your back pain. And I'm like, great, there's not much I can do about that. So when I went to train and do my conventional, I was like, this isn't working anymore. You know, it feels like I'm only using my back and it does not feel good. So I had to switch to sumo, and it was instantly no back pain, right? But I couldn't do like the one that you're referring to, like the really quad dominant, like hips really low, wedging yourself into the bar. That one wasn't working for me because my quads were not very strong. You know, I'm a low bar squatter, and my quads were just not ever, my highlight. So the sumo, I ended up doing some weird hybrid that some people do, where it's kind of like,
The frog.
is that what it's called? I don't know
I
if
think it's
there's a
called the
name
frog,
for
yeah.
it. I just feel so much more tension in my hamstrings and in my glutes with the hips just a little bit higher. Um, yeah, and that worked for me. So I had to do that for one or two competitions, and then I went back to conventional. Um, wasn't 100% there with, the back pain and stuff yet, but I was like, I want to go back to conventional. I'm better and stronger in conventional.
Yeah, I think my best sumo pull, I mean, I haven't maxed out since last June, but I think it was 100 pounds less than my conventional.
Mm,
And when I say conventional, I mean my best 5 rep max at conventional. I
yeah.
haven't ever done anything more than my 5 rep max.
Ever?
I tried, but I failed.
Oh, okay.
It was weird. I managed my 5 rep max, and then a couple weeks later, I tried 20 pounds heavier for a single, just couldn't get it off the ground.
Really?
Yeah, very
Interesting.
frustrating.
Interesting. You think you were like fatigued or something, or?
My positioning was off.
Mm,
I One of the things that I used to do, my friend who I'm actually interviewing on Sunday recommended that I stop doing this is because I never used to use my legs while deadlifting. It wasn't intentional. I just don't have a lot of faith in my leg strength.
mm,
Um, I would force my hips down to try to get them into position, and then inevitably they'd rise every single
right,
time because they weren't meant to be in that. So he said, you know what, just start where they rise to,
right, right.
and then and it helped my positioning, and it things feel smoother now. So I want to take another crack at 200 kilos, but I don't need to max out for my competition. It's just unnecessary.
When's your competition?
July 24th,
Okay, July
same
24th.
day as the Strongman Classic.
Oh, perfect. Where
Yeah,
where's it at?
it's in Mamaroneck, New York.
Okay.
So also near Mount Vernon Barbell for reference.
Have you been connected with Nick?
Oh yeah,
Bible? Yeah.
yeah. Nick and I talk frequently because
Okay, good.
yeah,
I love
I'm a
the
big
stuff
fan
that
of
he
Nick.
posts. Yeah, the strongman stuff that he posts about. I love watching that. It's so cool. Pulling
Fun
cars around and throwing stones and stuff. It's awesome.
fun fact: his current 5 rep max and my 5 rep max are about 20 pounds apart on
Whoa!
deadlift.
Oh, yikes. Watch out, Nick.
Yeah, I'm just messing with him.
Fun fact slash humble brag.
Fun fact: he's still a lot stronger than me.
Yeah, there you
Yeah.
go. I remember, I think the first time I was exposed to strong man was when I found Charity Witt on social media. You know who
Yeah.
she is? Yeah, she won like
Yep.
the Titan Games. Um, that was years ago that I saw her and I was like, dude, this lady is strong as hell. I was watching her like squat and deadlift and stuff, and I was like, wow, this is hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pounds. I can't remember the specifics, but and then I noticed that she was competing as a strong woman. And I was like, that's a cool sport. Requires a little bit more, flexibility in terms of like positioning and, power output and directionality and stuff. I think it's super duper cool. I would like to try it. But
Yeah.
how many strong women are there that are like 5'2"? Probably not many.
Taylor.
Yeah. She's 5'2"?
Yeah. I think that's what she said. Yeah.
Wow. All right. Good, Taylor.
She uh she was telling me that she's going for Canadian records. She's trying to get her pro card. I guess she doesn't post a lot, so I didn't know that. She
Right.
was
I thought she was, because she's doing hockey up there.
yeah. I mean, I guess it's probably a better carryover than something like powerlifting where you're just standing there and lifting.
Yeah. More dynamic.
Yeah. I mean, for me personally, the static events are better for me. That's Nick and I are the exact opposite. He's better at just picking up weight and moving with it,
Yeah.
whereas I'm better at standing there and picking up weight,
Gotcha.
relatively speaking. Again, he's still
Gotcha.
stronger than I am, but
It's okay. What are you gonna do? He's got some years on you.
just 10.
Just a full decade.
Yeah. It's been doing this a little longer than I have. I've
So,
only been able to train consistently for since March 2020
okay.
because I did sports in high school.
What
And
sports
then
did you play?
I did rowing and wrestling.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So wrestling is kind of what got me bigger than I used to be because I started that at 160 and then trips to Carvel every week got me up to 185.
That's your secret.
Yeah, Carvel and cookie dough.
Oh my God.
I'm sure as someone who does nutritional seminars, you're a big fan of hearing that.
Hey, when there's optimal and there's less optimal, there's no bad. That's what I tell everybody.
I want to interview a couple nutritionists too. I think
Yeah,
it'll be interesting.
definitely. Know that workshop that we just did recently. There's this CrossFit gym down the street that I started going to when we moved to Boca, and it's the coolest place. The coaches are all super nice, um, so welcoming, and so like willing to learn themselves and better themselves as coaches, but also like give their members a lot of value. So they've been bringing me in for a couple of seminars, and we have a couple more planned in the coming months. Um, but yeah, this nutrition seminar, it was a pretty good turnout. It was definitely fun because that's the first time I've really done my own first nutrition seminar. Usually it's all like one-on-one remote coaching up to that point.
Yeah, it's an interesting field that's it's now being looked at more, but if you scroll back a couple years, it was all right, I'm eating a lot. Now it's what are you eating, when are you eating, how are you eating?
Yeah.
It's an interest. I know nothing about science.
It's
I'm an English boy, but
Oh, you should take a nutrition class at Cornell. You need to take Dr. Levitsky's class.
let's get okay.
Dr. Levitsky, I mean, I think he's still there, but um, that was a really good intro to nutrition, his class. He's really funny and engaging in the way that he delivers the information. But but yeah, the most interesting part right now that I'm encountering with my nutrition clients is that there was this article that came out and it kind of dissected this idea that if you're telling your clients, dude, just feed your body like a machine, just fuel your body as if it were a machine. If you're telling that to your clients, it's going to work with some of them, but it's going to be kind of detrimental to a lot of others. And the factor there that kind of determines whether it's going to be effective or not is the amount of self efficacy that the client has. So I've been like spinning my gears in my head about this concept of self-efficacy and whether you have high self-efficacy or whether you have low self-efficacy. Because if you have high self-efficacy, basically you've proven to yourself in the past, I've done hard things and I can do hard things. And when another hard thing comes my way, I'm probably going to conquer it. And it might be a little bit difficult, but I'll endure, blah, blah, blah. You've kind of like proven to yourself in the past that you can do something. So when someone tells you, do just fuel your body like a machine, right? You wouldn't put, canola oil in your gas tank, would you? And that person goes, yeah, you're right. I should just fuel my body the way it was designed. So that works great for some people. But then the other people with the low self-efficacy, they don't really have that confidence. And when they hear a challenge or they hear instructions, that they don't believe they can achieve, then it kind of just swings the pendulum completely to the other end, and they end up doing things that are the complete opposite of what you would want them to do. So now that I am getting more clients, I have like this wider spread or this wider variety of types of clients. It's not all athletes who are like, okay, yeah, I'll just do what I'm told. It's people who have varying experiences and differing backgrounds on how they were raised and how they view food and their relationship with food. And when people say that, when you're a nutrition coach, you kind of turn into a little bit of a therapist at times. Like it's totally true, because those tendencies and those habits are deeply ingrained into our brains. So it's been really interesting to explore that with a lot of my clients.
Yeah, I mean, like for me, in terms of things that are deeply ingrained, I found a picture of my dad and my grandmother eating chocolate ice cream from the 1980s. And I also eat a lot of chocolate ice cream. It's pretty ingrained.
It's genetic.
But yeah, I mean, if I'm gonna make myself protein pancakes, which I don't, I just eat eggs. But
Yeah.
if I want to trick myself into eating healthier, like if I say strawberries, for example,
Mm-hmm.
on their own, yeah, they're okay. With chocolate syrup, they're amazing.
Yes.
And that's the way I trick myself into getting more natural sugars. I mean, I'm putting the chocolate sugars on there too, but I can get natural sugars. I can get more organic,
Yes. But
healthy
I would
things that
argue
aren't
that,
crypto.
yeah, I mean, depending on your goal, that could be a completely appropriate approach for you to take. It's definitely, there's not one right way, and that's a lot of what we focused on with that seminar last Saturday. There's not one right way to do it, and like I kind of alluded to earlier, it's all kind of on this spectrum of the most optimal choice, which would be like minimally processed to not processed at all, whole foods, lots of colors, but that's not always feasible. It's not always realistic for me, especially. I definitely don't do that, more than 80, 85% of the time. But, that adding that little chocolate to your strawberry, if that gets that strawberry into your system, you know, and it doesn't sabotage your goals, you're fine.
And I think what it happens too is I don't, again, you definitely know more than I do about this, but I feel like people can't always detach themselves from their body. Like a more self-conscious person, like with a bodybuilder, they're
Mm,
sort of looking at it as more of an art form. It's that, they have the marble there and then they're trying to chisel out what's underneath.
yeah.
And not everyone has that. Some people, instead of looking in the mirror, they'll look down at their arm and they'll say, why is my bicep vein here? And this or that. I think it's in talking about that emotional connection with food and yourself. I think there's definitely differences that people have with that, right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Very, very stark differences. I have some clients who, like I said, I tell them my suggestions and they immediately are able to implement them and don't really dwell on them, or at least they're not, forwarding that information to me or forwarding those doubts to me. And they just kind of do what they need to do. And they probably have pretty high self-efficacy or confidence, like you said. But then for some people, you're right. They tend to maybe focus on like glass half full, or sorry, glass half empty, right? Yes, glass half empty. And take like even a more like pessimistic type of, mindset can be really, really harmful and block a lot of your progress. So as a nutrition coach, I have to help them kind of break down those walls the best way I know how. And I'm still getting better at it. Like I said, I've only been doing nutrition coaching for just over a year. I got certified last April during the pandemic. I had nothing else to do, so I was like, let me just sign up for precision nutrition. And I'll tell you, if you want to learn more about nutrition or nutrition coaching, I highly recommend that certification in particular. It's a little bit pricey, but for me, like the concepts carry over to just coaching in general, for every type of client. And it added a lot of value to my coaching services too. So I think that was a pretty good move. But yeah, so I'm still learning every single day, how to manage nutrition clients.
If any of my friends are watching this, they'll know that I'm not the right person to ask about nutrition. But
What's your approach to nutrition is add chocolate syrup.
seafood, and I eat it.
There you go. That's okay.
Actually,
goals, right?
here's a question for you, because this is an argument that I've had with people. Would you say it's beneficial to eat right before you lift?
Like right before you lift? How?
Right before, like driving over to the gym.
I don't think it's very beneficial. I'd like to talk to someone who does it and get their side of the story as to why. Is that you?
It's me.
Oh, let's talk.
I'll eat my sandwich on the way to the gym and then lift. But what affects me is the cardio. I can't do that and then do cardio. But if I'm just lifting, it helps me brace better into my belt. And I just feel like I have more energy overall. Like in the winter, I would eat dinner and then lift. Immediately after dinner, I would go downstairs and lift in the basement.
Gotcha. And what's your typical meal, your pre-workout meal? Oh, okay. Uh-oh. Sorry, we cut out there for a second. Can you hear me okay?
Sorry.
No, you're good.
All right. Sorry, someone just called me. I don't know who that was.
Oh, no worries. Pre-workout meal.
Pre-workout meal. If it's during the day, I have about a foot-long sandwich. Well, actually, I'll eat half of it before. I'll go chicken, pepper jack cheese, barbecue sauce,
Immediately
and
before you lift.
immediately before I left, and Gatorade.
Wow. Interesting. And how does I know you mentioned you feel like you can press into your belt a little bit more, but how does your gut feel?
It's fine.
Okay.
I think it's the rest that I take, because when I was at Teagle and we only had 50 minutes, it was the first time that I cracked 205. I was getting really winded, and I was eating a little bit less beforehand, and I was just really tired, and it was difficult for me to maintain that body weight and be efficient with my lifts. Whereas now that I have more time to slow down, my body's just gotten used to it, but I'm not, crying on the floor for 30 minutes. It's very different having that extra time. I don't know how much that affects the digestive process or not, but my gut is fine. My
Okay.
body's weak, but the gut is fine.
Yeah. That's probably where I would start. I always ask people, what do you think would sit well in your gut? What timing do you need to make sure that the meal that you eat beforehand is not impacting or impeding your performance, right? So, and I think it does come back to the intensity or the nature of the activity that you're doing. Because you're right, you're not jumping around. You're not, going for runs or doing double unders or like, it's very static, like you said, and you have more rest breaks. But the theory that I usually fall back on is if I eat a meal, then where is my blood flow going? It's going to like my GI system, right? To help digest that meal pretty soon after. And what aspect of your autonomic nervous system facilitates that process? Your parasympathetic, right? That rest and digest aspect of your nervous system. So if I want to go work out, but all my blood flow or a lot of my blood flow is kind of being relegated to my gut, and I'm getting a little bit parasympathetic with it, that's not totally ideal for a situation where I want to be more sympathetic. I want to be more like fight or flight, adrenaline type of stuff. So I think what people might feel is if they eat right beforehand, their nervous system kind of like doesn't know what to do, and it kind of battles between parasympathetic and sympathetic, like, okay, we've got to digest this food, but also we've got to lift this weight. um what do we do? And usually it just ends up the food kind of sits there in the gut and doesn't get digested all the way. And I'm not really sure what exactly like the timing would be in terms of like, okay, if you eat and it sits in your gut and then you go work out immediately and then it digests afterwards, I'm sure it's digesting while you're working out to some extent, but not as efficiently as it would if you were just to take 30 to 60 minutes to digest and then go work out. You know, it's like you're diverting what your nervous system has to worry about. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
I'm
that
not
would
sure
be
how much,
my concern.
I'm not sure how much of it is mental too, because I just feel bigger when
Hmm.
after a meal, and I'm bigger, I'm stronger, I can lift this thing. Whereas, for example, when I failed to pull 200 kilos 5 times in a row because I'm stubborn, uh, I barely ate anything that day. I don't think
Oh,
I had
interesting.
I don't think I had breakfast. For lunch, they had a vegan lunch that I didn't really eat a lot of.
Okay.
I'm not vegan, but
You're, why were you eating a vegan lunch then?
that was all they had.
Who?
Cornell dining.
Vegan only?
It was. I think they ran out of the meat, and that was all that was left.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, so that was all I had that day, and I just
Ooh,
felt smaller and weaker. And
yeah. Not a good day to max out.
no, it was a horrible day.
You should have stopped at the vegan meal and been like, okay, today's not going to be my day. I don't really, I mean,
Yeah,
I don't have any qualms. I don't have many qualms against veganism if someone wants to be vegan, but yeah, for a max out day, yikes.
yeah. Going from a high protein, high carb, some vegetable diet to only thing you ate was a couple vegan burritos. It's not.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. So I think that just having that immediate training session right after you eat, if you don't feel the need to fix it, you don't need to fix it. But I would be interested to if you were to take tabs on your digestion, you know, and how it's affected by that timing, I would be interested to see that data. Because your food, you're right, your food is just kind of sitting there in your stomach, makes you feel nice and big, helps you push into your belt, helps that intra-abdominal pressure, maybe. But I maybe later on there are some digestive issues that come along with that.
Funny enough, one of my friends actually got a complaint filed on him at work for his digestive issues because he takes a lot of bathroom breaks. His
Oh
excuse is that
no.
he's a 5'11", 300-pound strongman. Of course, he has digestive issues.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was
Wow.
it was really funny.
That could be, you know, that's an interesting, you know, complaint to be
Yeah,
filed. Takes too many bathroom breaks. It's like, okay, you don't know what I'm dealing with. Maybe I have urge incontinence or maybe I have
yeah,
prostate issues or something like that, but I'm glad it's only because you know, it's
yeah.
digestion related to his training.
Oh, it's funny you should mention all the other scientific possibilities because he's a nurse. So
Oh, really?
it was a fellow nurse who was reporting on things that they didn't know about
Oh, interesting.
related to his bathroom breaks.
Okay. That's interesting. I was imagining like a desk job, but no, he's on his feet all the time and people's call lights are on and he's running
Yeah,
room to room and really, yeah, you don't have much time to take bathroom breaks. I had a client, she just graduated from my program after 7 months of coaching and she's a night nurse and she was like, dude, I can't go to the bathroom sometimes for like an entire shift. And I'm like, oh boy, that's not conducive to healthy habits.
yeah. It's There seems to be a trend of inconsistencies with medicine and medical practitioners in terms of
Hmm.
sitting all day and reading articles about how you're not supposed to sit all day.
It's funny, right? It's a funny
Yeah.
paradox for sure, or an oxymoron rather. Um, but yeah, so if you want to learn about how I'm training now, it's definitely not powerlifting. I don't know what it was about powerlifting. I got I think I have a severe case of like exercise ADD or something like that. Like I don't really like doing one thing at all, like just one thing. So that's why I think I've gravitated a little bit more toward like CrossFit type workouts where we get the strength in at the beginning, but then we're like doing all these different movements during the Metcon afterward. Um, but yeah, when I was powerlifting, I kind of got frustrated because I felt super duper strong, but I didn't feel like I looked strong, you know? And I was just kind of frustrated because, like I said, I'm not naturally quad dominant. I don't naturally have an awesome VMO and like a lateral quad sweep. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to put in some work on my own if I want that to come to light. I can't just keep low bar squatting and expect my quads to grow, you know? And that was toward the end of PT school, like my third year of DPT school. And I started doing a little bit more bodybuilding type of stuff with my now husband because he's super into bodybuilding. And he just had his first competition.
He won, didn't he?
Um, he won. He won the classic physique overall. It
Congratulations to him if he sees this.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure. I don't think he's watching right now. He's out of town and he's traveling, but he'll see it. But yeah, I was super proud of him. That was April 17th, I believe, middle of April that he won that. And he's been kind of in this recovery phase ever since then. And the first month afterwards, it was definitely a big adjustment. But now he feels like $1,000,000. He's like, okay, now I feel back to normal after that like intense cutting phase. Did not look fun. Did not look fun. But so anyways, he got me to do more body sorry, bodybuilding type movements. My setup just failed. There we go. So as I started doing more bodybuilding type movements, I was like, okay, now I actually feel like I look as strong as I am or as strong as I feel. So I kind of got a little bit away from the powerlifting movements, did them here and there as like a low hum in the background, just to keep the fundamentals and to keep a baseline of strength. But then I kind of got away with it. I got away from it rather. I hurt my knee recently playing rugby again for the first time in like 3 years and couldn't squat and was super frustrated. And so it's just a constant kind of cycle of finding what modality of training is going to work best for me, depending on what I have to deal with.
It's interesting because I'm the exact opposite. I hate bodybuilding style stuff.
Why? It's so
It just
interesting.
bores me to death. I put in bicep curls for my training block this summer for hypertrophy.
That's a start.
I just stare at the mirror and hate myself for like 5 minutes.
Maybe
I
it's not heavy enough.
it's 4 by 8, so
Okay. Oh, okay.
it's meant to be. I don't know, it's heavy for me, I guess. I don't train biceps at all,
Yeah.
but it occurred to me that if I want to work on my lockout on bench, I need to work on my triceps and biceps and
Mm-hmm.
get my arms strong. Because for most of 2020, except for when I was in Teagle for I guess a month and a half, that's how long they were open in the fall. I would only do heavy compounds. I had front squats, I had overhead, I had floor press, deadlifts, um, barbell rows. I didn't have dumbbells or a bench or a squat rack. But yeah, I just hate the bodybuilding style training.
Mm.
I'm the exact. I'd rather be strong. I don't really care how strong I look.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah,
No,
it's
for
a
sure.
bicep curls. They infuriate me. I just they're so,
Well, that's good though that you're programming that because
yeah,
yes, it'll help you for bench. Like so you could probably just call them accessories, right? So that you
yeah.
don't cringe every time you look at them when you call them bodybuilding. But it'll also be a good for your, do you use mixed grip with your deadlifting?
Yes. When
Yeah,
I try to do double overhand as much as possible.
yeah,
My top sets I do mixed grip. My back offs I do double overhand.
right, right. So that's good though that you're kind of facilitating that elbow strength just
Yeah.
so that, if something were to happen during your deadlift, you want that bicep to be nice and strong.
Yeah.
Don't
That's
want
part of my
to,
concern too, is I just don't want to tear it
exactly.
as, yeah.
Think of it as prehab, right? We always talk about, Steffi and I kind of hate that word prehab because it's just like, okay, it's just a normal exercise, just like anything else. They just label it as like preventative rehabilitation. Depends on how you look at it, if you label them as your bodybuilding hypertrophy type movements, or you label them as your accessory work to help your performance in your other movements, or you label them as prehab, whatever you need to label them to increase the buy-in, because they're super important. Just to A rising tide raises all ships, right? A rising tide lifts all ships. So if you can get those isolation muscles, or those,
Yeah.
yeah, that'll only help your performance for sure.
It's just the isolation stuff is so boring to me. I don't know why. Just,
Yeah.
but it is necessary. I do recognize that.
Are you into,
And
sometimes I'll kind of nerd out when I do it and like think about like the anatomy behind it and like what nerve is going to this muscle, what arteries supply this muscle, would do you think that would make a difference if you focused
you
on
know,
that?
I spent the fall semester failing an animal science class. Uh,
Oh,
I don't think that would help me much.
animal science. That's one of the things that keeps me and my husband kind of interested in that stuff. We just always are like picturing the muscle and, picturing the contraction and feeling that burn, getting that mechanical tension as well as those metabolites built up in there, the ingredients for good hypertrophy. So yeah, it's been fun. But he asked me like, "Oh, are you going to compete in physique?" And I'm like, that interests me not at all.
I mean, I don't want to look too much like a strongman, but I don't really care. Honestly, I'd rather be like I implemented incline pressing as well with the
Hmm.
axle bar because
Nice.
it'll help my overhead.
Right.
But my biggest thing since I started doing my own, my friend was writing my programming from in August and a little bit in October, and since then I've been doing it myself. Is I just want my workload capacity to go up.
Hmm.
It's actually the pendulum swung the other way. I used to only be good at maxing out and never rip reps.
Really.
Um, yeah, well, what happens when you're an ego lifting teenager, teenage boy, I guess. Um, is yeah, so I just for strongman, unless there is an event for max, my first competition was in January. That was log for reps and deadlift for reps. This event that I'm doing this summer, it's basically all cardio.
Oh
But
wow.
Nick would love it. It's a
Yeah.
truck pull, keg load, one arm dumbbell press for reps, car deadlift for reps, and fingers. I don't know if you know what that is.
No.
It's awesome. It's a huge metal pipe that it's sort of like a clean. You get it up to your chest and then you push it over. They're actually doing a World's Strongest Man this year.
Okay. No, that I
Um,
haven't seen that one yet. I'll have
it's
to
an
look up a
interesting.
video.
Yeah, and part of it too is I know there's a strong man named Lawrence Shaw. He tore his tricep on that.
Oh,
So in 2014, so that's another reason why I want to work on my triceps
right.
is because it's a lot of you're holding it up here the whole time. So you need that shoulder stability. You need your triceps to be locked out.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm training for function over form, I guess,
Right.
in terms
Right.
of
No, understandable.
in terms of not necessarily having bad form, but in terms of my personal form
Yeah,
is not as important as doing face pulls so I have a more stable um, set of deltoids to rest the dumbbell in.
exactly. Do you do much kettlebell stuff?
No,
Do they have kettlebells at Teagle?
uh,
I don't
I
think they
look,
did when
I
I
look.
was
I mean,
there.
they do at Appel. I think that's where they have it.
Oh, okay, yes, Appel. Wow, dude, I was there when Appel got made over into what it is now. It used to be just another basic part of Cornell Fitness Centers, and now it's like the super functional gym, right?
Yeah, it's got all sorts
Functional
of
fitness gym.
yeah, all sorts of that kind of stuff there. But they've still got a deadlift platform.
They have a deadlift platform. They
Or I guess
have what are
weightlifting platform.
they? Yeah, they have a turf, right? It's the only one with turf.
I think so. They have ergs there, rowing
Yeah,
machines,
yeah.
banes of my existence for 6 years.
Yeah, you probably never want to touch a rower again.
They're in my training program for the summer.
Good for you.
Well, no matter my own personal history, if I'm pulling a truck, I need to learn how to pull for cardio again.
Yes.
So actually, my splits aren't that bad compared to seeing as how I haven't had a full season since spring of 2019. Because I guess as a doctor of chiropractic, or PT, you'll appreciate this. I messed up my piriformis
Yeah.
in March 2019,
Hmm.
and I got it checked out in September of 2019. So that's been bothering me for a while. every, every now and then it flares up. It's mostly with squatting.
With squatting. Okay,
Yeah, like
gotcha.
that entire summer 2019, I couldn't squat or deadlift.
Oh, wow.
So that was frustrating.
Did
But
you
that was when
have,
I did a lot of bodybuilding work,
yeah,
accessory.
might as well, right? The gift of
Yeah,
injury, focus on everything else. Um, so you eventually sought help from a professional?
yeah.
Okay.
And then, but
Did
I
you do PT
was
or Cairo or
Cairo,
Cairo?
and then he did the electrical stimulus on the
He did E-stim
area.
on your butt?
Easton, yep.
Is that all he did?
I'm sure he did other things too. That's the most memorable one.
Oh my God, if E-stim is your most memorable treatment, I don't know, man. I have my qualms with that. I'm sure it got better, right?
It did.
Your
It
performance?
flares up every once in a while, but
Okay. Do you just
it's
E-stim it when it flares up?
I just ignore it. I,
Ah!
no, I stretch, and also the gym that I go to now, they have massage guns there.
Okay. Nice.
So I've been using those every single day that I'm there, and everywhere I can find on my legs, on my chest, on my shoulders,
Yeah.
on my piriformis directly there.
Right.
So what happened with that is I had a messenger bag in high school,
Yeah.
because I like being popular, and so I had a messenger bag, and then it was spring break 2019. I had pulled 405 for a double on the trap bar, and then I tried to do 185 on overhead within about 2 days of each other. So I was
Mm.
pulling really hard down and pushing myself down,
Mm-hmm.
and I went that,
Mm.
and that was yeah, I couldn't sit in class that fall
Was
of
it
my senior
immediate
year.
while
It
you were performing the lift?
probably, but I didn't, things hurt sometimes.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, this happens, and then a very uncomfortable spring because my rowing is a very sedentary sport.
Yeah.
And then yeah, summer I couldn't squat or deadlift, and then in the fall, about 2 or 3 weeks into September, I couldn't really sit in class anymore.
Wow. What were your symptoms? Was it just localized to that like back pocket area, or did you have numbness, tingling down the leg, or
It was never numb. It was always painful going to,
okay.
it went down roughly to my knee,
Okay.
but it was mostly directly in that area,
Yeah.
pulsating. It's really fun, which is good because I'm upper body dominant anyway, so I just got better at what I'm good at. It's a useless thing to
Yeah.
do,
Yeah.
but
How go ahead.
I balanced out by spraining my shoulder that winter.
Oh my
So
God.
yeah, so I learned how to safety bar squat.
Yeah, there you go. Another tool in the toolbox. The gift of
Yeah,
injury, once again.
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, if you're lifting heavy weights, if you're an athlete in any sport, you're gonna have those run-ins with those aches and pains, and it's just a matter of, you know, not waiting from March to September to address them. No, I'm totally kidding.
No, that was probably one of the dumber things I've done.
Yeah, but you learn from it. And if you ever have any questions, you can always message me, and I'd be happy to help. Hopefully, that thing doesn't flare up anytime soon. But I've definitely worked with multiple clients who have similar complaints, and for some reason the piriformis always gets the blame, man. But uh yeah, there are other things you can do for that type of injury too. Um, Smashing it with the
It's another call. Very popular this morning,
um,
apparently.
wow. Are you on a time crunch at all?
No, not at all. The only other thing I have in my life today is deadlifting,
Okay.
and that's a 24-hour gym. So
Oh, nice. Awesome. Our gym here is 24 hours too. It's a bodybuilding gym, but dude, I'm always like hats off to the people who are there working 24 hours over the night shift. Oh my gosh, dealing with the people who come in at 1 and 2 a.m. I imagine it's like shift workers and stuff, but
I don't think it's always staffed. I think that's the way they do it.
really?
I think there's after hours. Well, it's
Okay.
like I think Bev Francis might work the same way
Okay.
out in Long Island,
Okay.
where we
Gotcha.
have key cards.
Yeah.
Unlike people who work out at the YMCA, such as the person who's just commenting at me right now.
Imagine
That's
carrying a satchel, man.
yeah. That's that's Eliza. She's my number one client, my protege,
There you go.
teaching
Love
her
it.
everything I know. Not much, but everything I know.
So
All right.
how'd you get into strongman? You said that wrestling kind of was your introduction to strength training in general, right?
Actually, no, it was rowing. I
It was
did
rowing.
um, I did winter training for rowing sophomore year of high school. Absolutely hated it, but we started lifting then, and then I was obsessive about watching Stefi Cohen, Dan
Mm-hmm.
Green. I watched The Animal Cage in spring of 2018, The Arnold.
Mm-hmm.
And around that time is when I found out about strongman because I liked Game of Thrones, and so I
Mm-hmm.
used to watch all those videos on YouTube. It's like, who is the Mountain from Game of Thrones? And it's like, oh, he's a professional strongman. Yeah, that's cool, whatever that is.
Yeah.
So I would watch them compete, uh, and it honestly, I was into powerlifting first, and it's still my first love. I'm definitely more statically inclined.
Mm-hmm.
So people like Steffi, Kevin Oak. Actually, I was before Larry Wheels became the YouTube sensation he is today. I remember when he pulled 900 pounds
Mm.
uh, raw. I think it was the Warhouse Gym is what it was called.
Yeah.
April 2018, I started following him, and it progressed from there. I wrote my first training program for myself in the summer of 2018. Wasn't good. I
The
maxed
first
out
one
anytime there
never
was a
is.
pretty girl near me. Just terrible.
Oh,
I've learned since then. It helps that I'm dating my gym crush right now. So
oh my gosh, how beautiful.
yeah. Um, but yeah, and then learning from there, obsessively watching every Arnold, World's Strongest Man, current US Open.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know if Steffi had educational stuff then. I probably watched her, regular YouTube videos.
Yeah, the
Um,
I think the earliest when she started doing like dedicated IGTVs, it was 2019, I believe.
okay, yeah,
Yeah.
2019 is when I started to get a little more serious with it because I started wrestling in November of 2018 because I didn't
Hmm.
want to do winter training for crew again.
Hmm.
I'd rather get beat up every day than do that again.
Yeah, trade-offs there. Oh my God.
Yeah, but I was about 155 when I started wrestling, and so through that and lifting, I went through 4 weight classes.
Wow.
And so my senior year, even though
Kyle Dake over here. You're just like Kyle Dake.
oh yeah, we're virtually identical. Yeah, he's nuts.
Do you ever see him around campus? Is he still
No, I don't
in
see
the
him. I
area?
haven't
No.
seen him. He might be, but the fact that he's going to the Olympics and the guy that he beat is really good. Guy the Jordan Burroughs. I don't know if you know anything about him.
Yeah. Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, nuts.
I
And
know,
he
right?
tossed him around too.
It's crazy, dude.
Wasn't
I almost didn't know who to root for because I really like Jordan Burroughs and like his He was on Joe Rogan, not too long
I love his
ago.
Joe Rogan interview.
Yeah, so good, right? I was like, damn, this guy is the shit. But then I was like, dude, but I gotta stay loyal to Kyle Dake because he's from Lansing, and our high schools used to play against each other in sports. Um, so I was like, ooh, who do I root for? I really like Jordan Burroughs, but you know, gotta stay true
Kyle's the
to,
man.
yeah,
Yeah.
gotta stay true to it. Cornell alum, Lansing, local guy, great guy too. So that's cool
He'd be an interesting person to meet.
for
It's
sure.
as I got bigger, it's funnier and funnier watching the lighter weight classes in wrestling. Because
Yeah.
by the time I finished, I was 195, so that's the second heaviest, I guess, third heaviest weight class. It goes
How tall are
195
you?
to 6 foot
Okay.
now. I was probably, I grew about an inch and a half in the past year. My girlfriend's mad at me for that because she was already 6 foot. Now we're the same height.
Oh my God, power couple.
Yeah. But I think I was 5'10" maybe when I graduated high school.
Okay.
5'10" and a half. I was 5'10" and a half. Um, so, and I think probably 5'8" or 5'9" when I started wrestling.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's as I get older, it's interesting because it's such a technical thing. Like I look at as in if I didn't know better, I would say at 190 whatever I was then, oh, I could beat these little guys or whatever, and then you go against them, and suddenly your arm is here, your leg is there, your head's back there.
Yeah,
It's funny.
the technique is beautiful. I was friends with a couple of the Cornell wrestlers during my undergrad, and I had never really paid attention to wrestling in high school. It was like, I didn't know anybody on the wrestling team, and I never really went to the matches. But when I started going to a Cornell match, nonetheless, I was like, dude, this is legit. This shit's hard, you know? It's amazing. You have to be so strong and so flexible and so agile. I was like, this is the pinnacle of sports.
It's amazing. That's why I like MMA too, because
Yeah,
just think of the concept of someone like a boxer versus a wrestler, and like how they're both so technical but in such different ways.
exactly.
They both have to have amazing fight IQs. And that, well,
Exactly.
because I guess Steffi's boxing.
Yeah, did you see it?
I did.
Oh,
There's a lot of negativity about that, but you know what? She's happy with it.
yes, yes, I agree. I was honestly like I looked at, her and her opponent like lined up, and I was like, dude, Steffi looks like a freaking action figure. Her opponent looks like
Yeah,
she doesn't really want to be there. But then when the fight started, I was like, okay, wait, her opponent has like 7 fights under her belt, and this is Steffi's first. Like, it's not gonna be like a TKO in the first round or anything like that. It's Steffi had to fight for it. I think that was the funnest part about it is that this girl was throwing punches, and she has a higher fight IQ, I guess, technically, than Steffi has just based on experience. So that was super fun to watch.
well, you guys have a ring at Hybrid, right? I think Danny Mello
She,
trains Muay Thai there, right?
I don't know about that. She could, but yeah, Steffi put in the ring a few months ago just so she could have Kareem come in and train her right on site. So yeah, it's definitely transforming, and they had to rearrange all the platforms and stuff so the weightlifters still had their space, and Fernando and Medina can still lift hundreds and hundreds of pounds over their head without worrying about like, you know, weights flying off into the boxing ring or whatever.
I want to talk with Fernando. I don't know a lot about weightlifting, so it'd be interesting to talk with someone who's at that level.
Yeah, Fernando's so nice. He's really, really nice and so knowledgeable. Um, and obviously just super strong. It's unreal
Yeah.
the weight that he
Uh,
can lift.
do you follow Lasha on Instagram?
No, I don't.
He was doing high pulls with 300 kilograms. It looked like an empty bar. Just
Yeah,
the way these guys move is insane.
I
They
know.
probably have the best crossover in the strongman
Think
out
so?
of out of any sport. Yeah, mo especially now at World's Strongest Man. People call it heavy CrossFit, but it's
Heavy CrossFit.
that's
I
I
love
can,
that.
we can talk about that too if you like. But it's so dynamic, and you have guys like Bill Kazmaier and Luke Richardson, IPF powerlifting champions, but the most of the successful strongmen can move and are that dynamic. Like you have Olympic weightlifters. I know there's a guy named Jeff Capes who won it in the 80s. He was a shot putter.
Hmm.
So he had that sort of explosive power.
Right.
Jan Paul Sigmarsson, he was a powerlifter, but he was a fisherman too. So you kind of have to be able to move around
Okay.
when you're doing that.
Yeah.
Even Halfthor was a basketball player. Brian Shaw was a basketball
Right.
player. Eddie
Right.
Hall was
People
a swimmer.
forget that.
Yeah.
Exactly. People forget that.
Martins worked on a farm. It's
I
not
do.
just you can't just be a power lifter.
Exactly. So
And
you haven't delved into Olympic weightlifting yet?
I just no, I really have. I've tried it a couple of times in terms of
Yeah.
like it's in my program because it helps with the fingers. I want to clean, but my form isn't good. I can send you the picture of when I managed 2 plates on the clean. I took
Okay.
a screenshot of exactly when I broke it off the ground. You know how you're supposed to sit back into it?
Yeah.
It looked like an RDL.
Well,
That
I mean, it
it
depends. I
was
would have to see the picture, but some coaches would argue that that's how the first pull should look,
it
hips
was pure,
rising and
yeah, pure back and shoulder strength that
no
forced that
legs.
thing up. None
Yeah, that's probably not
whatsoever.
advisable.
No, I don't think I've ever tried a snatch before.
Yeah, I mean, just make sure you have the requisite wrist range of motion and shoulder range of motion and thoracic spine
Yeah,
range of motion. Um, and start light so that you don't hurt yourself. It would be a shame. Maybe not this cycle before July
yeah,
26th, but
yeah. I do snatch grip deadlifts. Does that count?
okay. Oh no.
No.
Um, yeah, Olympic
I try.
lifting is I have a client right now. He's actually the my husband's bodybuilding coach, and he came from Venezuela and he was a competitive Olympic weightlifter in Cuba and in Venezuela. He did it for 20 years. And he's so knowledgeable. We were talking the other day. Now, of course, he's like a bodybuilder and he can barely get his arms over his head. And his bicep like gets in the way for his front rack. He can't do any front rack. He has to cross his arms for everything, front squat,
I can't get in a front rack either. That's why I'm better at log, just
right?
because I can do that as opposed
Mm-hmm.
to yeah.
Mm-hmm. You think that's shoulder or wrist or
It's
what's your
probably
limitation?
both because
Okay.
this is about how far I can get back with that, and my elbow's down here.
Mm-hmm.
If I want to have my elbow up like that, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not a good
Yeah.
position. I get made fun of because the way I catch my cleans, I catch them like this.
Oh,
Yeah, it's not good. This is why I stick with powerlifting and strongman.
yeah.
I technique is the biggest thing that I want to work on, and also since Eliza's here, I can say this to her too. It's another thing that I'm having her work on, so that she doesn't cripple herself for 2.5 years like I did.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Uh,
You could always do, kettlebell training. It doesn't require so much. I mean, it's very technique based for sure, but there's a little bit more room for error since it's not like a fixed barbell.
yeah,
You can keep your wrist a little bit more neutral at times and but still get the benefits of like that explosive hip extension and the timing and the rhythm and the coordination of all of it. I have some friends that have clinic down in South Miami called Old Bull Athletics, and they do a lot of kettlebell training.
yeah. One of the things I'm working on now, I guess you'll appreciate this, is I'm very unbalanced when I lift. One arm goes up faster, one leg is stronger
Mm,
than the other. So
hmm.
I'm trying to get more unilateral motion going.
Yeah,
That's another thing with Eliza too, is it surprised her the first time it happened. She's like, why did my right arm lock up and my left one didn't, or
yeah,
whichever one it is. It's surprising the first time when you realize that part of your body is just gonna be stronger than the other part. So
yeah. But how are you? So you're addressing it with like dumbbell work?
dumbbell, like with my, yeah, with dumbbell
Okay.
work, because it's really funny watching myself do tricep extensions and with one arm just cranking them out, and then the
Hmm.
other one just struggling. So I need to keep the weight low
Yeah.
for to compensate for the other one, which is frustrating for the strong side. But
Yeah. But
it's
that's a really smart move because imagine when both of those arms are under load, like imagine the compensation that's happening without you really even noticing or feeling it, or when you're like under for a bench press or something,
yeah,
there's a really um, significant asymmetry there.
yeah, it's that's one of the things. I guess you can probably attest to this too. As I've been getting older, I'm only 19 now, so I can't really say as I'm getting older, but as I've progressed, because I've been doing this on and off for 3 years now, I've
Hmm.
become more technical. I've slowed down a little more.
Yeah.
I don't need to hit a PR every training cycle.
Yes.
I made that mistake in May, but
Now you know.
sort of. When I get angry, I overhead press. So we'll see how long that lasts.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I'll get angry because my squatting is weak, and then I'll overhead press when I'm squatting. So,
Oh my.
and then I'll be angry that
Yeah.
I can overhead press my squat.
And then it's just a vicious cycle.
Yeah. But
Oh my
give me
goodness.
strong overhead.
Yeah, yeah. Not all bad. What were we
No.
talking about before we were talking about half Thor fights.
Transitional athletes.
Oh, yes, yes. How they all had some sort of like multiplanar
Yeah.
dynamic type of sport in their background for sure. For sure. And you have that background too. You have wrestling in your background
Yeah.
to help with that. But if you don't keep
Rowing
up with
doesn't
those,
count.
yeah, rowing doesn't count.
No, not even
Uh,
remotely.
I have a good friend, actually, the one who owns Old Bull Athletics. She was a rower in college, and she was like, I rowed on the same side of the boat for 4 years, and my body did not like that. It became very, very asymmetrical in a way that like her one lat was stronger than the other, one hip had a lot of problems during PT school versus the other. Now she's good because she's doing all this kettlebell stuff. She's doing all this unilateral work. She's getting balanced. She's adding some rotational type stuff. She's doing her windmills. And yeah, it's interesting to see.
I did 6 years. It
6 years.
wasn't 6 years
Well,
of rowing.
in high school only?
No, I did in middle school too.
Okay, high school and middle school. Yeah. She
It took
was
me
high
six
school
years
and
to get
college.
mediocre. I was
Hey,
well,
it
actually, do you know Brittany Diamond? She's
I don't.
a strong woman. She trained with Steve Tripp up at in Rhode Island.
Okay, I don't think I know.
She was a rower in college.
Okay.
I think she did track in high school and then taught herself rowing so she could get a scholarship
Uh-huh.
for the crew team when she was there. But it's interesting watching her train, knowing like what her background is, because as a track athlete, she's better at that sort of dynamic stuff. But
Hmm.
I look at her, I'm like, you were sedentary for 4 years, and I think she's 29 now, so she's had time to get over it. But
Yeah.
it's interesting. There's also a powerlifter named Sam Locke.
Okay.
I very minor, but no offense, Sam.
Ah,
He does
yikes.
he doesn't know me. But
Okay.
he was an Olympic rower he went to Princeton. I think he was class of 2006. Sorry, not
Okay.
2016. Married the daughter of the Prime Minister of Australia. Random fact. And
Oh.
he inspired my diet sophomore year. One of my friends can attest to that. In one of his videos, he had what looked like gummy bears, so we called it the Sam Lock gummy diet.
Oh
I
my
think they were probably
gosh.
dried fruits, but it's better to think of them as gummy bears. But he went from rowing to powerlifting,
Okay.
and unsurprisingly, very strong deadlift, very strong squat, pretty good bench.
Hmm.
But that was for me, my thing with rowing is I'm so chest and shoulder dominant, and rowing is all legs.
Mm-hmm.
So, I was really good for picking the boat up out of the water, and that was about it.
Interesting. Are you doing your unilateral work as well with your legs in addition to your upper body?
No, because they're slightly less asymmetric.
Okay.
Well, actually, I don't know how asymmetric they are.
Yeah.
It doesn't, it's glaring with my upper body.
Mm,
Like you can see when one arm locks out and the other one doesn't.
mm-hmm.
Whereas with my legs, I think they're both equally weak. They just, they kind of go together.
Well, think about it. If you train one leg and then the other in like an asymmetrical stance with like a split squat or, your Bulgarian split squat or, any lunging variation or single leg deadlift, it's kind of like a 1 + 1 = 10 equation, right? If they're stronger individually, when you get under that bar in a symmetrical stance, they can work together just as more synergistically.
I've actually never figured out low bar squatting. I think it's 'cause my shoulders are too tight. I
Don't
can't.
figure it out. So you do high bar?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I never figured out any other way to do it. So yeah.
Wow. I'll have to look at a video of your squat. I don't know why I'm surprised. I don't know why, but I'll look at a video and see what we're working with because I don't know. For some reason I pegged you for a low bar squatter. Very presumptuous of me.
I'm basically John Hack if you think about it. You know, high bar squat.
High bar squats. I did not start. Well, I don't. Okay, we've talked about my quads like 3 times by now, so my quads are super weak. And then I started doing high bar squats with like my heels elevated, and immediately saw some growth and a lot of progress with strength in my quads. And so now I am a firm believer that high bar squat is, I'm a big fan of it. Low bar squat, that only exacerbated my lower back pain because I was trying to go way too heavy and my dynamics were off, my mechanics were off. It was not a good combination for me. So high bar, since I can't go as heavy, it's a little bit more forgiving on my lower back and definitely helps me achieve my hypertrophy goals and strength goals for my anterior side of my legs.
It's funny you should mention the heel up on the plate, those kind of squats,
Hmm.
because Eliza and I were actually talking about this the other day. She was asking me what exactly it does, and I had somewhat of an answer, but could you explain in
Yeah.
depth with
I
the
always I always think
what
about
that
it as
means?
like the further over your toes your knee is allowed to travel, the more knee dominant or quad dominant the movement is going to be. So with a low bar squat or even with like a deadlift, your shin stays very vertical, right? And it's a very posterior chain heavy movement. Your hamstrings are working, your glutes are working. But as soon as you let that tibia kind of tilt forward over the toes, it really changes the line of force so that that quad is really stretched over that knee, and it has to contract much harder to get you out of the hole and to extend that knee, right? So I always look at the shin angle and I'm like, okay, look, if your shin is vertical, it's not going to be as quad dominant. If you really let that shin come forward and let your knee pass over your toes, which is a controversial topic because I can't believe people are still perpetuating this notion that if your knee goes over your toes in a movement, it's dangerous or it causes knee pain or it damages your knee. It's the only way to really reinforce your knee joint and make it stronger and more resilient is to find ways that the knee can tolerate that full flexion. If it's not that heavy, it's okay, but I definitely encourage people to have a nice balance of knee dominant movements to grow the quads, strengthen the knee, make it more resilient to that anterior tibial translation, and hip dominant, which is your glutes and your hamstrings and your posterior chain. Does that make sense?
Makes sense to me. I
Yeah.
hope it helped her.
Hopefully, Eliza, it makes sense.
Yeah. It's. Would you say front squats have a similar effect, or is it just
Yeah,
different?
completely.
Yeah.
Completely. Because the way that your torso has to stay upright with your front squat, you need that knee to come forward or else you can't move anywhere, or else you're just kind of tipping the bar forward and pushing your hips back to make it hip dominant. And it's not really going to work based on where the barbell is. So if you keep your chest completely upright, elbows forward, and then just dip those hips straight down, that knee will come right over the toe. And then you extend out of it. Very, very knee dominant for sure. And the more lift you have under your heel, it kind of facilitates that knee bend and that forward translation of the tibia. So I found that I have a little bit of um, limitation with my ankle dorsiflexion. So structures in the back of my ankle, like my Achilles tendon, just like the calf complex in general, is a little bit tight. So sometimes that will restrict the amount of anterior tibial translation that you'll have. So by elevating the heel a little bit, you kind of start in a little bit of a better position that will allow that dorsiflexion to happen based on what you have available to you.
Yeah, that's exactly the problem Eliza has is that ankle mobility.
Really?
Yeah, because like she can hip depth, but she gets
Mm-hmm.
kind of stuck in the hole because she's wasting time trying to stabilize her ankles. So they're just
Okay.
not.
Does she wear lifters?
No, she wears
Okay.
sneakers.
Right.
If she can train barefoot, that'd be better,
Yeah.
in my opinion. I wear my old school shoes, which are Merrell's, but they're 2 or 3 years old, so they're just worn flat
Gotcha. They're like
on the bottom.
deadlift
Yeah,
socks by now.
yeah.
Nice.
And I get made fun of for that, but I'm like, oh, I don't have to pay money to buy Chuck Taylors.
Yeah.
So
No, for sure. And if you look at, the bottom of the squat and you find that like as she gets to depth, maybe her heels kind of like migrate in a little bit and then go back out, migrate in. Sometimes that's a factor of some tightness in the back of the ankle too, or maybe just some joint mobility issues. So Josue, my husband, he has, multiple a history of multiple ankle sprains on both legs. And I'm pretty sure one time it was a pretty serious fracture and he never got it looked at. He like could barely walk on it for weeks on end, but he was, I don't know, what, 15 years old and never went to the doctor. So his ankles
I
are
can't imagine
jacked
it.
up. Yeah, I know, right? Can't possibly imagine that. But his ankles are jacked up. And so, front squats and high bar squat is a little bit difficult for him. So we've been doing like band mobilizations to kind of pull that tibia back and kind of, or sorry, the talus back. So there's where your tibia kind of comes and meets your ankle bone. There's this bone right here that you can kind of like pull back with a band by setting the band really, really low below your ankle bones. And it just kind of helps him like stretch into that dorsiflexion a little bit more intensely before he goes to squat. But then he also has to wear his lifters to get that extra lift just because he is a little bit more limited in the dorsiflexion. So he loosens it up with the band mobilization and then he tries and goes and squats with really, really good slow form to avoid those heels kind of migrating in and out.
Yeah, when she played basketball, I think she sprained her ankle a couple of times.
Yeah,
So I think that's what it is.
it could
It's
be.
what
It could.
you know. I always tell her it's what she gets for being athletic.
Eliza, don't stop being athletic.
Yeah, that's the big difference. She makes fun of me for my unathleticism, but it's because it's funny because now I'm getting to the point where people ask me what sports I played in high school. I'm like, oh, do you do this or that? Do you football? I'm like, no, I was terrible at sports, so I got
Yeah.
strong.
Yeah. For real. That was probably one of my main drivers as to why I wanted to do powerlifting was because I played rugby all 4 years at Cornell. And I was like, okay, I need to be strong as hell on this field, even though I was only a scrum half. Usually it's one of the, smaller, physically smaller positions on the field. Um, I was like, I need to be kind of beefy and like be able to hold my own if I get tackled or if I need to tackle someone. So I was like, I really liked the strength that I got from powerlifting. Definitely helped my confidence on the field. I just felt like I was always like buffed up or like
Yeah,
puffed up compared to everybody else.
there's a girl in the barbell club now. She plays rugby as well. She's actually she's signed up for multiple NPC shows. They all fell through for different reasons.
Really?
But yeah, she's a year older than I am. I can see if you guys want to talk to each other at some
Oh my
point.
God, for sure.
But
So she plays rugby. She,
and she's a personal. She has her I think NASM certification.
nice.
Very. We actually were in the same animal science class. That's how we met.
Okay.
Uh, but yeah, but she's exactly as you described. You just she wanted to be a little bit bigger, a little bit beefier, so she could hold her own in rugby. And
Exactly.
she's there. She's really strong.
Hmm.
She destroys me on the leg press. We always make fun of each other for that because I think I started leg pressing last week for my hypertrophy, and I think I was doing 3 plates a side, and she's doing 500 pounds or something.
Yeah, get it, girl.
Yeah, but it's okay because I can bench or deadlift. So
So are you just gonna do push-pull competitions for the rest of your life?
honestly, I probably should. That'd be the way to go. That's
Right?
yeah. I, I could. Well, I mean, my squat is getting better.
Hmm.
It's no longer 150 pounds apart from my deadlift, so that's nice.
It's closing in. Okay, that's a good
Yeah,
sign.
that was a problem when I was a sub 400 pound deadlifter. That's a big gap.
That is a big gap. So what do
Yeah,
you think it is? You think what's your assessment of yourself? Performance?
that was a contrib. Well, not training legs for 8 months probably didn't help.
Yeah,
Genetics too.
genetics.
I have been able to do a handstand since I was 5 years old, and I can
Mm,
still do one at 205 pounds.
mm-hmm.
I'm just very upper body dominant. Um,
Gotcha.
I when I was in before I joined this gym, I was working out in the basement here, so all I did was floor pressing. And at my best floor press, which I maxed out again on the first day I came back,
Oh my God.
I've learned a
Bro.
lot since May. Is so my best on that was only 20 pounds less than my best squat.
Wow.
And then my squat is I finally squatted 3 plates. That was exciting.
Okay, awesome.
But yeah, I had a 295 squat and a 275 floor press.
Wow.
I'm
Dang, dude.
it's not for lack of training legs. I would do that twice a week, front squats after my deadlifts,
Mm-hmm.
back squats I think now my squats are finally in the right direction because I found the right mix of hypertrophy versus time that I can spend resting. Because at Teagle, what I would do this spring was 3 by 8 on
Mm-hmm.
squats. And so I'd just be dying in between sets because I was at a heavier body weight and I didn't have as much time to recover. Whereas now I'm doing 4 by 6, so it's still 24 reps,
Mm-hmm.
but I can get all of them done.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and I improved by 20 pounds on my working sets, and they're easier than what they were when it was 3 by 8.
Okay, gotcha.
It's just that
Have
that little
you
difference.
have you ever checked out any of Hybrid's programming for powerlifting or for I think they have a strongman program as well. It's not one of our most popular programs, but I think it exists. Have you ever checked them out? They do free trials all the time.
I haven't actually. I've based my programming off of the thousands of YouTube videos that I watch.
Yeah, yeah. No, it definitely is. It's nice to write your own programming because no one knows your body and your weaknesses and your potential and your strengths better than you. But
Yeah.
sometimes it's helpful just to see like what are they doing? You know, I was always interested in that before I ever started working for Hybrid. I emailed them, all the time trying to get, their free week samples of various programs just to kind of see how they did it. And I would get the program and I would do a couple days of the workout and I'd be like, okay, this makes sense. Very similar to the setup that I have, just like a little bit more specific in terms of percentages or RPE or reps in reserve, things like that. It's kind of nice to have that laid out for you. But this isn't a plug for you to buy a program, but I was just curious if you've ever, seen the way that they do it.
I looked at Candido training program.
Okay.
I didn't. I mean, I guess I'm sort of running it, but not really because I wrote it. But
Yeah.
it's for me partially because of the kind of weights that I had for most of 2020, and I just kind of stuck with it. I'm not real good with percentages.
Okay.
I'm not or RPE. I it's more based on what number I put on the bar. So like I'm doing for my 4 by 6, I'm doing 245, which I guess my best squat is 335. So that's what 70%.
I'll let you do the math on that.
Uh, bad move. Whatever percent that is,
Yeah.
I don't know how to work with, say, so my top set yesterday, Monday, was 295 for a triple.
Hmm. Mm.
I couldn't write for a program, okay, 87% of one rep max for a triple at RPE 6.5.
Mm.
I don't, it doesn't work for me very well. I get that it works for a lot of people like that, but for me, I'll say, okay, I can do 335. See if you can do 295 for three,
Mm.
which it hopefully more scientific than it sounds, but
Dude,
it's
I'm with you. Honestly, I program for other people, but like I'm the worst programmer for myself because I'm just like, okay, let's see if I can do this. I want to hit this number today, kind of like what you're describing. It's definitely like not ideal, but like
yeah,
I said, we know our bodies and that having that like degree of auto regulation available to you and being able to adjust based on how you feel from day to day and not being forced to hit a certain percentage because there are pros and cons to both, right? If you're given a certain percentage to hit that day, maybe you end up making it and it ends up feeling fine. But if you were to go by RPE that day, maybe you wouldn't have pushed yourself that much, you know? So percentages can kind of help you like push past some boundaries that you may have or some like hesitancies that you may have in relation to certain numbers or certain weights. But then the RPE, that is good for days where you're maybe not feeling your best and you're like, okay, this feels like an RPE 8 or 9, and usually it's only like a 6 or a 7. But I think that it's either, one or the other, I believe. Typically, like you'll either be programmed using percentages and you just hit those percentages, or you're programmed with RPE and then you just try and hit that RPE and record your weight.
yeah. I mean, there's such contradictory information about whether or not you should train close to your max.
Hmm.
Like I usually tend to do that, but it's because my biggest thing is workload capacity,
Hmm.
which has now been detrimental to my one rep max capacity.
Hmm.
But like for my top set on bench, I think this is like 95%. I'll do a triple at 245, and then, but my best bench is 255. And I can handle
See,
the
that
triple
doesn't, yeah, yeah.
but I can handle the triple at 245, which is also my working set for squats, which is what I mean when I say that I'm very off balance.
Oh my goodness. But I don't think you really think it's detrimental to your one rep max.
I I just assumed that I would be better. I don't know. It's surprising to me that I can do so many reps so close. I mean, if I'm doing triples at 10 pounds under my max,
Right, then I don't think that that's your real max.
right? But I've never been able to push past that. And then
Yeah.
also with deadlifting, I did 5 reps at 425, and I couldn't do 445.
Right. Right, right,
I mean,
right.
you would think with 5 reps that I'd be able to at least break it off the ground,
Yeah, for sure.
right?
And you mentioned that you think that that's like a positioning or like a technique type of
Yeah,
thing.
I'll be interested to see what I can do next time I max out. Probably the end of this training cycle. I'm just kidding. Um, no, just I'm very deliberately not maxing out because I don't need to max out for my competition.
Right,
It's
exactly.
car deadlift for reps.
Exactly. It'd be very high risk for like very little reward.
Yeah. The only possible reward is that I said I wouldn't buy myself straps till I pull 500.
Oh, there you go. Nice.
So
It's important to have those kinds of rewards in place. Keeps you going, right?
yeah, and yeah, like I guess Eliza, she doesn't have a belt yet, but we said
Yeah.
when she pulls 225, she can get one. Might have to
Yeah.
break that rule for the competition because
What? She's competing soon?
we're competing at the same competition. We're
Oh, she's
doing
doing the strongman competition?
yeah.
Oh my God. Okay. I didn't know that. I
New,
thought she was just powerlifting for some reason. I don't know why.
nope, New York strongest man and woman.
Very cool. Okay, yeah, maybe it would be good to have
Yeah,
that
might
belt.
might might have to break that rule because
Yeah,
she
and
pulled
then just
215.
right.
So
As long as she has like the bracing techniques under,
yeah,
under control, then Yeah, for the last few weeks leading up into the competition, maybe she would want to train with that to get used to it.
Yeah, I've been going back and forth about that because we did say 225, but if you're deadlifting a car, it doesn't really matter what your personal things are. You should be as safe as you can.
Right, right. And it'll give her good feedback too. I don't know if it doesn't prevent injury by any means, but it definitely gives you better feedback to kind of push into your belt or optimize that intra-abdominal pressure, um, so that you can transfer that force a little bit more efficiently with less leaks, you know?
Yeah, but she lifts a lot like I do. Conventional, no arch when she benches. And we're the same way.
You guys don't have an arch when you bench?
I am the flattest person to the bench ever.
Is that
That's just how I learned how to bench.
because, okay, gotcha.
And I've tried
Is
using
it a
leg drive
moral issue?
somewhat. The pulling conventional is moral.
Yeah, that
Uh,
sounded pretty moral when you pointed that out.
Well, it's strongman too.
Yeah.
I'm sure Jamal Browner could pull 500 with a suit on and sumo, but he'll never get invited to the World Deadlift Championships. That 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 strongman community is too proud for that. They're like, oh,
Right.
we don't allow sumo.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Honestly,
for
they
sure.
might though. If the belt clean thing can did you not hear about this?
No, can you explain?
So a belt clean is when you are going to do a clean with an axle bar, but you rest it on your belt, readjust your grip,
Oh. You rest it on
and
your belt? I thought people would rest it at like their hip crease.
yeah, you're supposed to.
Is that the same? Oh, okay.
But they rest it on their belt, and then they, go up to their chest and press it.
Mm-hmm.
And there are certain people who seem to think that you should just use your body and not your equipment.
Yeah.
I'm
Mm.
sort of in the anti-belt clean category, even though I'm a lighter weight. It's what the controversy is it's the lightweight strong men and strong women who do it because they don't have that huge gut to rest a axle on.
Mm-hmm.
So they use the implements, and people are
Gotcha.
saying, well, because they're like, oh, well, that's no different than using straps. And
Hmm.
it's different because you're still, my personal opinion, you're still holding onto the bar even if you have straps. With a belt, you can just kind of let the thing sit there and put your hands up. So that's the controversy with that. But if belt cleans can get through, maybe sumo deadlifts can.
One would assume. That's an
Yeah,
interesting controversy though. Yeah, how much is your equipment really helping you out and serving as a
it is
little bit of a
always.
band-aid?
Yeah. To be fair, it's always a funny argument watching strongmen with straps and belts and suits and hitching talk about how sumo is cheating.
Right? Isn't
Yeah,
it kind of funny? It's kind of funny.
it
But I,
is.
I like how you and Eliza are very pro delaying belt use, until it's really, really necessary,
Yeah.
because that is a fundamental skill, learning to brace and keep a quote unquote neutral spine while you deadlift. Um, that is a crucial skill. I still see people all the time, no matter what weight is on the bar, especially at CrossFit classes, no matter what weight is on the bar, they put a belt on. And I'm just like, I never wear a belt anymore, ever, because I'm not competing. I don't need to work with weights that are, feel like they're compromising my ability to brace. But when you're definitely in competitive zone, you probably should train with it. So I get where it becomes necessary. But to start off and learn exactly how to move that bar efficiently without equipment or without your lifters, like you were mentioning, um, it's I think it's really, really important.
So as a Cairo, do you just bring your business cards to CrossFit with you, or how's that?
So I'm a physical therapist. I'm not a chiro.
Physical therapy. Sorry.
Yeah. I don't bring my business cards. That would be too much. When I was first starting out, like trying to become like an entrepreneur, I might have done that a couple of times. I definitely went up to strangers and just gave them my business card, which is so old school. But it just kind of evolved naturally where I was going to the CrossFit. I told people I was a physical therapist, but that was basically it. I didn't say like, yeah, let me know if you want your free consult or your free evaluation or, handing out business cards. I wasn't really doing any of that, but I sensed that, like I said earlier, this gym is really, really open to learning more about working out, learning more about strength and conditioning principles and physical therapy and rehabilitation. So I just kind of told them I was a physical therapist and then I let it be. And I was like, I'm here to work out. This is what I need from this gym. But then one of the coaches during class, he was like, oh my God, I messed up my back doing a heavy clean the other day. And I was like, oh, really? So I kind of poked and prodded, asked a couple of questions. I showed him a bunch of exercises. He was like, oh, I feel so bad because you're basically like treating me right now. And I was like, don't worry about it. I'm just, you guys coach me every single day. This is like my way of saying thank you almost. So I helped him out with a couple of things. His back ended up getting a lot better, but he had a lot of questions. He had heard, oh, if you herniate a disc, you're doomed. You might have to get surgery. I've got this numbness down my leg. What do I do? Is it ever going to get better? And sometimes it's just a matter of like reassuring someone that, yes, you're going to heal. It'll probably take 6 to 8 weeks, maybe 12, but it's going to get better. You just have to find the silver lining and work on these XYZ things in the meantime. So I helped him through that. And then kind of a couple other people with back pain came up to me, and I shared my information with them. A couple people had some achy shoulders. They came up to me, shared my information with them. So it's a lot of just like giving education and information at like no cost, like very informal conversations, helping out, kind of informally establishing myself as a resource in this gym where if you're hurting or if you have questions, you can come to me and ask, and I'm not going to be like sending you the bill, afterward. And then that kind of transformed into us doing a back pain seminar there, which was really, really cool. It was like an hour and a half, part lecture, part lab, so that people could learn, the mechanics of learning how to hip hinge and learning how to engage your glutes and your hamstrings so that your lower back isn't forced to pick up all the slack when you're deadlifting. Or because a lot of these athletes, the day after a repetitive deadlift workout, which happens in CrossFit like more than I think it should, they're debilitated the day after. They're like, oh my God, my back is killing me. So I tried to give them some tips in that seminar and work on hip mobility and rotational capacity at the hip. And Bia said she was there. Hi, Bia. Thank you. And then, so yeah, I just basically have established myself as a little bit of a resource there. Nothing like super, like I don't set up my table there yet and have people just lined up on the hour. We have talked about like creating like a wellness program where you do have access to a physical therapist and, some nutrition coaching and things like that. But yeah, it's definitely been an evolution of learning how to like sell myself, my skills, my services, figuring out how to do that like on social media in a way that isn't so invasive and so salesy, and figuring out how to do it in person. I think the fact that I didn't put too much pressure on myself to get clients the second I signed up for this gym, I think that worked in my favor, because as soon as I feel pressure to sell, it doesn't work. Like I know that about myself,
I mean, if I were a PT, I'd look for clients at a CrossFit gym first. No, I'm just kidding.
It's true. It's so true. And the good thing about working with CrossFitters is that they're very receptive to what you have to say, because they're so invested in their lifestyle. They're so invested in their workouts and being able to participate, at full capacity. And so they will take your advice and they'll be serious about it. But then you have the aspect of when I tell them, okay, you might need to modify some movements in the WOD. Sometimes that group class dynamic, it's really tough for people to say, okay, well, I'm not going to do snatches. I'm going to do, some overhead presses instead to build up that capacity and that proficiency with overhead pressing before I do a snatch. And sometimes it takes a while for someone to like swallow their pride or to buy into the idea that, look, if you go slow now, you'll be able to get back to where you want to be eventually. So even though they are super determined to get back and they'll do the homework that you give them, and they'll be really, really engaged with the education that you're giving them about their body. Um, they tend to hammer some movements too fast and too soon. Um, too much too soon. But I have my qualms with CrossFit, but here I am going at least twice a week to freaking hammer my own body in ways that are ill-advised. But I try and be smart about it.
As many problems as I have with CrossFit, and as much as I like to make fun of it, to be fair, it has done a lot for strongman.
Yes. And
There's
powerlifting and
and
weightlifting.
powerlifting. There's, once people get away from CrossFit, they really figure themselves out. But people like Rob Kearney started out in CrossFit.
Yep.
That was what he got into, and now he's one of the strongest men in the world. And Gav Bilton, he's a two-time UK strongest man. He won 2020, 2021.
Okay.
He's enormous. Again, he's 6'6", I think 210 kilos, so 460.
Wow.
Another guy who started in strongman like 2019 started training. He got out of the Welsh army and started training strongman, and I think he put on about 180 pounds.
Wow.
Maybe 200.
Oh my goodness.
Because he was not skinny, but he's enormous now.
Yeah.
And he was always the same height, but
wow.
he was a boxer in the army, so you don't want to be too big unless you're Tyson Fury.
Gotcha. No, that's how
But
Steph got into, she talks about this all the time. It was CrossFit that got her into weightlifting, and then weightlifting that got her into powerlifting. It's a great entry level activity to expose people to different strength sports.
And Andrea Thompson started out in CrossFit as well.
Okay.
I don't know if you know her.
I don't follow many. Is she strongman?
Strongman, yeah.
Strongman, okay, yeah. I have yet to follow all these strongman people. Like I said, basically, I follow Nick, you, and Charity Witt, and Taylor.
Yeah. You should give them a follow because it's a different kind of strength.
Yeah. Matt Vincent was strongman too, right?
Who?
Matt Vincent. He did the Highland Games multiple times. I can send you his profile, but he used to train. He was like a thrower, I believe. He threw shot put, and then he went to the Highland Games a couple of times.
Interesting. I didn't know him.
Really? Oh my gosh, he has like his own business now, Hate Brand Goods, and he's good friends with the owners over at Hybrid. Really cool guy. Yeah, really cool guy. He doesn't do much strongman anymore, so maybe that's why. I think he stopped in like 2018. He had some pretty serious knee stuff and hip stuff going on. I think he had multiple knee surgeries, got his knee replaced eventually. And he's only 30 something, but yeah, he was a strongman. So I follow him. That's like four strong people that I follow. But
Is he from Cornell or just from Florida?
No. He I think he's based in St. Louis.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll send you his profile.
Okay. Yeah, the shot putters are really strong people. There's a guy named Kurt Jensen. I don't know where he trains out of, but he reps 425 on overhead, just part of his training.
Wow.
I think his best deadlift was 920. Just, end of a training block, decided it was a max out. He's a shot putter. That's all he does. He doesn't compete in strongman, doesn't do powerlifting.
Yeah.
He's like, oh yeah, I had overhead press in my training today, so here's 4 plates plus a 10.
Wow. That's insane. Dude, they need to be so explosive in the coordination of the throw itself and the mechanics. Oh my God, it's so beautiful. I threw shot put in high school, but no one taught me to throw like that. Maybe I was a world champion walking around and no one knew it.
Maybe you had the genetics for it.
I don't think so.
If I had done wrestling, I would have been better than that, than that rowing.
Oh yeah.
I was astronomically better. Not that I was any good, but relatively speaking.
Yeah, right.
I don't think anyone from my high school team follows here, so I can lie and say it was good.
Oh, there
But
you go.
yeah, and I took to wrestling way faster than rowing.
Hmm.
It took me 6 years to get a split that was a minute slower than what would be recruitable at Cornell.
Wow.
That's how, I mean, Cornell has a really good team, but
Right. High standards.
that's, I was really bad. And then the wrestling I was pretty good, except for when I sprained my shoulder.
Oh, yeah. Same thing with me. I was like mediocre with soccer in high school. I was okay at running track, but then I took to rugby so much faster. Like my hand-eye coordination is so much better than my foot-eye coordination. It was a total different ball game, pun intended, when I learned how to do rugby.
Well, that's kind of what I'm doing now, because my foot coordination's not that great either. Since I have to pull a truck, I need to be able to figure out how to move my feet like that.
Right.
So on my strongman Saturdays, I'm doing farmer runs, yeah, I guess farmer walks, yoke runs,
Okay.
sled pushes. I just want to be able to figure out how to move my feet fast because I can sprint
Right.
actually faster than Eliza. She gets mad at me for that, but
Congrats.
thank you. I'm proud. It bothers her because she's an athlete and I'm not.
You don't think you're an athlete? Do you
Not at her
identify as
level.
an athlete?
I do, but not at her level.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, no, she's very good athlete. Every sport she's ever done, she's just crushed.
Nice.
But
Gifted. Tell her
yeah,
she should try
definitely.
out for the rugby team.
She's a little
Eliza,
skinny
this
for
is your
a.
calling. She's a little skinny. No, that's the beautiful thing about rugby, man. Every position has its own like ideal anthropometrics. So, for example, I was scrum half, you got to be kind of short and like fast. If you're a prop and you're in the scrum, you got to be definitely bigger, heavy set, really strong. But if you're lanky but tall, then you can be a lock. You're still in the scrum, but you're in the second row. So I think this is her calling. And plus I have a real soft spot for the Cornell women's rugby team. So shout out to them.
You're trying to take her away from me.
Ah, yeah, sorry. Definitely, yeah. Oh, plus she's a strong woman.
Yeah,
She'll run over everybody on the field.
yeah. I mean, that's also why I'm keeping her. I mean, we're going to do powerlifting too at some point, but
Hmm.
she's so athletic. Why force her to stand there and deadlift when she can figure out the technical parts. She wants to learn more about
Exactly.
weightlifting. She has that athletic ability, whereas I just kind of brute force my way through things.
When I was at Cornell, I took a PE class. My PE credit was weightlifting.
I saw that credit. I was looking at that one, um,
It was fun.
but yeah, it looked interesting. I I finished my PE credit, so I think it's too late
Oh, just
now.
take it anyways. Take it anyways.
No,
Oh my
my
God,
my
I did.
PE is now the barbell club.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. I think my first PE credit was like kickboxing or something like that. Like I had to do
Coach
six,
Seaman,
I don't know. Oh,
Kevin
that sounds
Kevin
familiar.
Seaman.
Yes.
Yeah, I took his MMA class in the fall.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, the same girl who plays rugby in the barbell club. She was in that class too. We were in two classes together in the fall.
Nice.
Yeah, and I did badminton with Eliza in the spring.
Badminton, nice.
Yeah,
Oh, I also did. Okay, so I think you have to take two PE credits, right?
yeah, just two.
Okay. So I did the kickboxing first, and then I did weightlifting, and then I did the gymnastics class. Oh, that was so fun. Oh my God. If you do handstands, you should take the
Yeah,
gymnastics
I can
class.
do handstands, cartwheels, roundoffs, all sorts of useless tricks.
Oh my gosh, it was so fun. We would go in and you could use all of the equipment in the gym, and there was a tumble track and a foam pit and the uneven bars and the rings. Oh my gosh, it was so much fun. If I could go back, like I wish my parents, because I did gymnastics like every kid does, just like for a little bit and then you just stop doing it. I wish my parents kind of pushed it on me a little bit more because what a beautiful, I mean, there are definitely there is some drama in the sport for sure, right? Like being, you know, in terms of, mental stress and the controversy with a lot of the coaches and stuff and their
Yeah,
coaching styles and all that. But
those guys are nuts.
oh, dude,
They're
tell me about it.
weird people too.
Tell me about it. But the sport itself and the strength that these girls and guys have and the awareness they have of their bodies and the proprioceptive skills and just like I envy that all the time. I'm just like, dude, that when I was working at the sports medicine clinic with pediatrics, I would have gymnasts in there who their core was so stinking strong. There was not a core exercise I could give them where they were like, okay, I feel I'm like I'm done. I'm fatigued. It was like they are just so strong and it's going to serve them well. But unfortunately, their sport is so demanding that they have all of these injuries, these overuse injuries from, you know, the repetitive impact and things like that, that it takes a toll. It takes a toll. So I wish I just stayed in like a couple years longer so that I could like walk on my hands, you know, or do a back handspring and then get out and go play rugby or something.
There's a strongman who tore his quad, and it was so dense with muscle the doctor couldn't even do anything with it. It was literally just too thick to be moved.
Oh my gosh.
I don't even know how they reattached it if they did. They must have because he was squatting at World's Strongest Man like 2 weeks later. But
Yeah. I wonder
but
how 2 weeks later.
three maybe.
Oh my
He
gosh.
competed very injured at Worlds.
Mm,
He actually didn't get invited back, which is another controversy because the only way you're supposed to qualify is through Giants live shows. It's a company that runs it.
hmm
He came third at Europe's Strongest Man, which was that and Britain's Strongest Man were the only qualifiers in 2020 for this year's World's Strongest Man, and he didn't get invited back.
mm.
So people were like,
Ooh.
yeah. And the promoter was like, well, we were looking for people who had good performances the first time. Yeah, well, he's the only one. Realistically, there's only six people who are qualified, seven, because they invite the winner of last year back.
hmm
And then, the other 13 people are wild cards, or was it 25 this year? So the other 18 people are wild cards in who they decided to invite. And
mm.
the fact that that guy's not invited back is a little strange.
Yikes, dude. Dang.
So you wish your parents had pushed you more on gymnastics. So I guess since we're coming up on 2 hours now, we might have to close it up with
We can definitely do that.
my final question. I don't know what else you have going on today. Um,
I've got some writing to do. We're working on a certification um, for hybrid where athletes and coaches can kind of get certified as, you know, with hybrid. And we have to create like a pretty dense course with a lot of, you know, strength training fundamentals and all the principles behind like the hybrid performance method and things like that. So that's what I'm doing the rest of the day.
do you know Sophia Ellis, powerlifter from Britain?
I might know her if I saw her on Instagram.
I interviewed her about a week or so ago.
Okay.
She was talking about making a similar course like that for, I think the IPF has one of those courses,
Okay.
powerlifting.
Probably. Probably.
It might, maybe someone to talk to. I don't know. So I guess
Mm-hmm.
the last thing I have to ask you is if you could go back to 18-year-old Bekah and sit down and have a chat. What would you say to her? Would you want to change anything? Tell her to stay the same?
Dude, 18-year-old Bekah took some leaps, you know. She left her little hometown and went to Cornell, 30 minutes away, but a whole different world. I think she did pretty well. If I could tell her one thing, it would be just don't care what anybody thinks. You know, just stop thinking about what other people think, you know, which is wishful thinking. I still tell myself that to this day. You know, there are pros to being so like self-aware and reflective and thinking like, okay, what could I have done better? What is this person thinking about what I could have done? What would my mentors have said, you know, regarding this decision? So there's value to that, but like sometimes it can just be kind of stifling and prevent me from taking action. So if I could go back, I would say, you know, just do your thing and do not care what other people are thinking. You know, put your head down and do the work. So I think she did a pretty good job. But Still a
That's so
work in
too.
progress, you know?
Yeah, you've made it to some pretty interesting places in life so far.
Yeah, definitely like leveraging my degree to do something that's not so traditional. Um, I'm really, really proud of that for sure. I knew that I would not do well in a traditional clinic setting where you're treating 3 or 4 patients an hour, you're working for the man, you know, you're just kind of helping other people get rich and not necessarily getting rich yourself. And I by no means am I rich, but I think there's a lot more room for growth with the things that I'm doing right now, as opposed to, you know, just becoming a clinic manager or something like that, you know.
Best of luck with the educational department. Who knows? Maybe we could get a seminar with you if you decide to come up north again.
Oh, that would be
Brave
awesome. I go
brave
back.
the Ithaca winters.
Yeah, God, I go back often. I'm going back to New York in a couple weeks to visit my family. I'll be there in August. I'll be there in October. So I go back often. When they open up Teagle Down to, you know, alumni again, then I would be happy to come down and lift with you guys.
That'd be great. Well, thanks for a good 2 hours. You beat Taylor's record.
Oh, God. If anybody watches the whole 2 hours of this, they should get an award. I think the only person would be my parents.
Yeah, I know Eliza's not gonna watch the whole thing unless you're still here.
That's okay. No, I appreciate you interviewing me. And if you ever want to do this again, I'm totally open to it. I want you to send me some strong men and strong women that I should follow because I love seeing that stuff in my feed.
Will do. I'll do that and have a good day.
Thank you. You too. Good luck with everything. Okay.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.